Hi, I'm Yash, and today I'll be demonstrating how to paint grass in acrylics. So let's get started. So now with my angular brush, I've just loaded in some black, only black, and I'll just go ahead and drop in the backdrop. Okay, just to represent some darkness, some shadows. So now it's almost dry, and I'll just take in some lime yellow and green on my rigger brush. That just drop in some of those blades of grass. To do this, make sure that the backdrop is completely dry, and I've added some water to this just to thin it down a bit, just like that. Okay, pop out some of those grasses from the shadow region. So now I've loaded again with that same color on the same brush, and just flicking some of those blades of grass. For this you need to chisel up your brush. You can even make use of the liner brush also, but I just preferred this one, the rigger brush. As you feel you're going out of paint, always go back and reload. And I'm barely touching the surface to get that sharp edge. Now to that very same color, I've added in some white, and let's drop in one, two over here, two. Okay, let's drop in over here. Maybe that's a very big one there, and I'll take in some more of that color, and look at that shine. But acrylics tend to dry a bit dull. I like that shine, something like that, and maybe some over here too. Just covering up those harsh edges of the backdrop, that is also very important. Coming over here, I'll just brighten up some of these because it will get filtered from the other leaves. The light will get filtered from the other leaves and stuff. Now I'll go back to that color which I had taken previously without cleaning the brush, and just flick in. Maybe it's not completely dry there, but it's okay because that is anyhow going to be the shadow part. Okay, something like that. So now the thing is to just break up that harsh edge. So that I'll just load in this. Just gonna make it look very like popped out. That. Okay, and come over here. Look at that, I'm turning the paper because that's looking very convenient for me to do this. That's one of those shadow things, and things will happen automatically. Okay, something like that. But still I'm making sure that I leave some negative spots, and you don't have to go with just one single color. I'm taking some yellow ochre and green. This time I'm going to take a brighter color relatively. Then apply more pressure for the paint to come out. So now I've taken in more of white. I'll just drop in some of those, just randomly placing them, something like that. So another type of grass is you just load the brush, your rigger brush, and just you create some fine blades of grass. I'm assuming that this is a very dense forest. Okay, and I'm just gonna make it in the opposite direction also. And I'm holding my brush almost at 90 degree. I'm just flicking out some of those. And this is a very effective and super efficient way to paint grasses. Okay, and another blade sort of comes off like that. Yeah, just like that. Don't create your grass or the blades of grass in one single shade of color. Just have some sort of variation. So now I'll just use some water to thin down the paint. And look at that. Get that instant effect. Okay, something over there. And for this I've used mostly green and less of lime yellow. Now let's see how to paint lawn. So for that I'll just take in some brighter color. You could even make use of mid-tone color. You just placing in the paint, or rather blocking that. And let's assume that there is a path over here, just a rough thing. And as it's going to go back, it will get thinner, the path will get smaller. As we're going to come forward, the brightness levels go down and it will get darker, slightly darker. You could even make use of blue in that. Just a touch of blue also will work. But I can barely see that path. Okay, something like that. Now I've loaded my number 2 fan brush, the same brush which I used to paint the backdrop or the blocking in part. And make sure that to tap on the palette to see if there is any texture of grass that you see. And look at that, I can just go ahead and tap it very lightly. This is a lawn. It's lawn is nothing but very short grass. Okay, something like that over there. And some over here too. Just like that. Right. And it will be slightly darker and denser. As I go towards the top, I'll reduce the pressure. But instantly we have a lawn. Just like that. So now I'm just blocking in some darker color, whatever was left out on my number 2 fan brush. And let's come over here. I've taken in more of white to that same color. Okay, just some white, and look at that, I'm holding the brush in a certain angle that not all the bristles of the brush are getting touched. Something like that. Here too. Maybe another one. Okay, these are just the placements. Okay. And to make it creative, I'll just take in this. With that, some of those green color. These are tall grass. Turn the brush and get some of those blurred effects. And let's continue with that. Just barely touching this surface. These almost look like plants. Just over here and there, not much. This one's the main focus in this part. Maybe this side is single, and then don't follow any sort of patterns, something like that. And then just a touch over here and there. You can be super loose with those. But this is also another type of grass which you can paint and make your painting look very creative. And this is a foreground grass. So now another type is to just I'll just block in this color. So now I've just taken in some lime yellow and just some white. Let's block these colors together and blend them together. Okay, and I'll take in some black to make it look denser and deeper. Okay, just blocking this in. So now I'll take up this color and I'll just try to bring these out. They're a bit thicker, I need to thin them down, and for that I'll use some water. Okay, this has to work. Let me try the other way. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, that works. Okay, something like that. Go from the inside to the outward. The place which you touch first will be blunt, and the place where you lift up your brush will be the sharper edge. Look at that, it's blunt here and it is sharp there. And don't add too much of water that it gets too runny. And you can just flick up some of those blades of grass. Now I'm planning to bring that darker color from here till there so that everything fits together. You don't want this to look like a semicircle or like that. That's something like that. Okay, and I'll drop in that color over here too. Just flick up one or two just to distinguish them from the other part of the grass. That's just like that. So now I'll just go over here and bring this outwards. Due to gravity, they'll grow downwards after a certain point. Okay, something over there and maybe some over here too. And don't follow any patterns, just like that. So now I've taken up my number 2 fan brush, and I'll just go ahead over here and just sort of give some texture to these. That I'll take up some of that color, and this is another type of grass, just showing you within this one. Just tapping it, just sort of tapping it. Something over there and some over here too. With that, I like that texture. Something like that. Now I'll take up some white and green without cleaning the brush and just sort of creating those individual blades of grass inside that one. Okay, something like that over there and over here too. Look at that, just like that. So now with some black, I'll just go ahead and create some separations. This is how going to be everywhere, just over here and there between the blades of grasses. You can even make use of the liner brush, but since this brush is bigger and can hold more paint, I've just used this one. That is just a personal preference, but in some cases you have to use the liner brush. Over here too. Okay, something like that. I'll switch over to my number 2 fan brush and just creating some sort of texture in the shadow areas. Okay, something like that. Skip some spots, and at the bottom it will get very dark. Apply more pressure if you feel that the paint is less on your brush. Now just go ahead with this and just sort of tap in some highlight over here. Okay, you can play with this all day around. That, and just sort of bring it that there. So now let's go ahead and paint in another type of grass. For that I've just loaded in some green and white without cleaning the brush. I've not cleaned my brush since I started this tutorial. Something over there. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and drop in. That's a bit too thick. That I get that fine blades of grass. That just like that. I'll just indicate some. Okay, something over there and some over here too. But I'm barely touching the surface. By doing that, I get that, that thin line, very fine blades of grass. Now in this type of grass, the tip of the grass will be brighter. Okay, for that I'll just indicate something over there, some over there too. Okay, that's the difference. The tip of the grass the tip of each blade of grass will be brighter. That some over here too, making it look very grouped. Okay, something like that. In the meanwhile, I'll just come back over here and drop in some brightness to this. Something over there. I've just taken some lime yellow and white. Okay, something over there, and let this be fairly bright at this part. I'm just gonna tap it. Yeah. And another type of grass is to just place in the paint, and as you're going to come down, it will get darker. This is a used brush, in the sense I used this before, that is why it's kind of producing that darker color there at the bottom. And you can leave it just like that. If this is a foreground, just apply the texture which I applied there over here, and I'll just make the top a bit brighter. For that I'll go outside, because if I paint on that painted thing, it will just get blended. Okay, something like that. Look at that, that's a path. Just indicating that itself becomes a path. So with this, I come to the end of this tutorial. I hope you have enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.